Hello everyone, it's Victoria Mattia here. I am also known as the Mom Care Coach, and I also have a Mom Care Coach podcast. And today I wanted to talk a little bit. So the last couple months on the podcast, we have been discussing all kinds of things around our 4 intentional needs. So to review, we have mindset, movement, sleep, and nutrition. Those are our 4 intentional needs, and they are also known as our anchors that are tethering us to our goals under the umbrella of aligned living. So we as autism moms, we often have a lot of hats that we wear. And not only a lot of hats that we wear, sometimes our needs and our children's needs and what the therapist thinks that we also need for our children, doctors, teachers, psychologists, neurologists, so many different individuals are involved in our daily lives when it comes to caring for our children and caring for ourselves. And it's so easy for us as autism moms to put our own needs on the back burner, which is different than moms of typically developing children, because there's a trajectory of what is happening. For instance, there's milestones that a neurotypical family generally is going to meet. So if you have a child that is 4, they're generally in a different place than if they were 14 or 15 or 24. However, when you are a mom of a child that has different needs, then you don't know when that milestone is going to be met and if it's going to be met. So that is going to impact how we can care for ourselves most of the time. So we have to learn a different way and have a different route to still get our needs met as individuals, as moms, as women. And so that's where the Mom Care Coach comes in. I like to give people tactical options that they can choose and use in their daily lives is going to actually help them. So for instance, if you have a child that is on the spectrum and they are an older child, there still needs to be, even if they are struggling in certain areas, let's say sleep, you still need to be able to make sure that you are having enough sleep as the caregiver, as the mother. And so that is going to look different than if you are a parent of a neurotypical developing child. So with these 4 intentional needs that I introduced last fall, I would like to do a quick review because we are at the end of January and I want to help you meet your own goals. So with our 4 intentional needs, we have sleep that is tethering us to the goal that we have when it comes to restorative rest. We have movement, which is that anchor that is tethering us to having joyful movement, finding things that we can do every single day that is going to help us to be able to be aligned in our life because we are exercising and moving and enjoying our being. Then we are not going to struggle as much often with the research that's out now. It shows how exercise has a direct correlation between mental health and how we age, honestly. So that is really important for us to do, but often I remember when I had my kiddos when they were younger, it was difficult to find care for if I wanted to go outside, like to the YMCA or to another fitness gym, to be able to make sure I got my exercise in. So as an autism mom, I had to find different options for me. And so that is one. Then we also have our nutrition, which is tethering us to having a nourished body. So we have a nourished body, we have restorative rest, we have our next one, calm mind. So we take our mindset, which is our intentional need, and it's tethering us to getting to a calm mind, which means we are at peace in our mind no matter what is going on around us. So that is really our 4 intentional needs, which are also known as our anchors and is under the umbrella of aligned living. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the things that we talked about and kind of focused on. So throughout this year of 2025, we are going to be on this journey of mastering our needs when it comes to self-care and knowing the variety of different things that we can do to help ourselves and support ourselves in these 4 intentional needs as we are on the journey of having a special needs child. So let's kind of go over, I wrote a few items down. We want to kind of talk because this whole program that I have created, it is modeled on a whole person holistic approach to our health and wellness, which honors the integrative nature of our well-being and vitality. We can take simple steps that can be really powerful, and it can also be deceiving because instead of expecting huge change via big leaps and bounds, we will be using small and steady shifts toward lasting change. We want to follow the 5% rule of Christina Rasmussen. She shares in her book, Second First, making small changes so that your amygdala isn't triggered to protect you from change. Now, we talked last month, I believe, about the limbic system and how we are wanting to make these small shifts so that we do not trigger our amygdala, which makes us feel like we can't do something or can't have something or can't be successful in a particular area. Okay, so there are 2 ways to keep moving forward towards positive change. We move forward and we steady ourselves. Okay, so anchor practices are those which help us steady and ground ourselves when life feels stormy, so we don't backslide or topple. That's why we are taking small steps towards our goals. We have our 4 intentional needs, which are our anchors. And I always imagine like an umbrella. Okay, so we have aligned living here. When you have opened an umbrella to its full capacity, under there it's like these little hooks that helps it to open up and protect you from the rain. Okay, so imagine this umbrella is protecting you from the storms of life, and the little hooks are our 4 intentional needs, which are our anchors, which are tethering us to what our goal is. With an umbrella, the goal is to stay dry, even though it can be pouring outside and rain is all around us. In our life, the pouring rain could be the different challenges that we are finding in our lives as autism moms. Now, different seasons call for different situations. Some seasons are really challenging and it's hard to keep your footing. Other seasons are not as complicated. So it is important for us, even in the hardest of times, as I always say, to be able to have these intentional needs to help us not to topple over and also to continue to moving forward to our goals. So we talked about getting properly hydrated. That was one of our first action steps, and it paves the way for the rest of the areas that we're going to be talking about. Knowing our true yeses. We talked about this. This is so important. I think a lot of times people talk about their no's, but we need to know what our true yeses in life, and it's the best way of getting clear of where you need to better boundaries. Of course, boundaries are so important. And where you want to focus your investments. Knowing your yes paves the way for easy no's. If you already know what you are for, then it's easy to be able to say no to everything else that does not line up with your true yeses. We have to bring our yes into our real life, though, or we have to bring our yeses into our real life, though, so that we can set ourselves up. Otherwise, we will set ourselves up for failure. Let me try that again. We have to bring our yeses into our real life so that we don't set ourselves up for failure. We need to know what we are for. This is where we will wrap our yes with permissions and graces. If you remember, we also talked about permissions and graces, meaning giving ourselves permission to do the things that we need to do. And when we have gotten off track a little bit, we can give ourselves grace to try again and to keep moving forward towards our goal. and to help our amygdala understand that we can continue on and we don't have to, park that goal because maybe we made a mistake or had a learning situation. We can continue to keep going. Okay, so we talked about water. Well, that was one of our tacticals. We also talked about limbic calming, or using our limbic system for us to help us move forward. And we also talked about the breakfast experiment. Now, the breakfast experiment was fun because you got to see, like, sometimes when we are eating whatever we're eating or continuing to doing anything really, without giving it much thought, then because that is just the way we are living our lives, when we stop and think about how this particular thing is serving us, then we're able to get more clarity about what it is we do want and what it is we do not want. So for instance, when we did the breakfast experiment, we noticed maybe if I ate, if we ate cereal, so much sugar first thing in the morning, how that actually makes us feel when we are not eating that much sugar in the morning. Or maybe having more protein, having a strong breakfast that has lots of protein in it can set you up better than if you're having something that has tons and tons of carbs and filler products. So you can go back and look at that episode and see how we did that, because that was pretty awesome. It is still on YouTube, by the way. Okay, so now we want to talk about chronic stress, and we are going to actually have some episodes coming up that really goes into detail about burnout, chronic stress, exhaustion. I feel like I am an expert on those kinds of things, and so I would love to share my expertise with you. As you know, I am a certified health and life coach, and I like to help women, especially mamas that has children on the autism spectrum, help them to feel their best and to practice these self-care tips. So chronic stress creates insulin spikes, which set off sugar cravings and depresses our immune system and prevents HGH from being produced, okay? Sugar-dependent metabolism, which can establish a strong craving, binging cycle with sugar if we do not adequately dismantle the sugar response through calming nutrition and wellness techniques. There is an episode that talks about these insulin spikes and what they can do, and it is not in great detail. We do have some future ones coming up, but there is a couple that you can go and take a look when it goes in the nutrition pillar. Our stress response itself is not the real problem. We were designed so that our adrenal system is necessary and useful part of our whole person health. When it is engaged properly, chronic stress is the problem of living in a modern world. For example, we have a natural rise in cortisol in the morning to help us wake from sleep. By intentionally engaging in calming practices first thing in the morning, we reset our internal compass to calm after the cortisol spike. An excellent way to reset in the morning is by eating calming foods for breakfast, which include high amounts of fiber and nutrients, as well as quality protein and healthy fats, which is what we were trying to show in our breakfast experiment. I know some of you commented that they did notice, you did notice like how you felt and everything. And I remember when I first started that breakfast experiment years ago, I grew up eating a grain-based diet. I remember lots of malto meals that had full of gluten and how it made me feel. And it wasn't until I was probably in my 20s when I realized that gluten was not serving me. And then from that, I had to be more cognizant about the grains that I chose. And then from that, even now, I don't have a grain-based diet. I feel my best as a raw foodist. However, everybody is different, and I don't necessarily think there's a one size fit all, but I do feel like it's important for you to be able to realize what is serving you and what isn't. And that comes from focusing on how you feel with after you've eaten certain items. This is creating more awareness in your body and in your life and in the sensations of how you feel after you've eaten something. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're creating awareness in what you eat, you're also going to create awareness in different situations in your life and different circumstances and how you feel in those, and not just going with the flow, but starting to be aware of, hey, do I have a choice in this? Maybe I should do this instead of this. And so that is a really beautiful thing. So the next thing that we left off with had to do with our limbic calming system. And yesterday I released an episode on the podcast and on YouTube where you can go and watch me go through some breathwork techniques, my personal favorite top 2. And so I recommend you going and taking a look at those. The next episode, we're going to talk about calm holds, how we can help our body in that way, and also some tapping techniques. So you may be new to tapping and then you may not. So go ahead and you'll be able to watch. Those will be also featured on YouTube, so that you will be able to go to the Mom Care Coach on YouTube and be able to watch those, and you can follow along with me. So that'll be really awesome, and I look forward to meeting you through the comments. Please do not forget, you can sign up for the Mom Care Coach newsletter. You can sign up for the Mom Care Coach Facebook group. You can listen to the actual podcast on iTunes or Spotify, and then a lot of the podcast episodes are actually to be watched, if you choose to, on YouTube as well, because everybody's different and we like to consume information differently. So thank you so much. Do not forget to like and follow on YouTube and the podcast. And if you are needing more support, I do have an online health shop to help people with their nutrition and sleep products and skincare, using clean skincare. Also, if you're needing one-on-one coaching, I am happy to support you in that way. Just leave a comment. You can also email me. My email is below this, so just let me know how I can help you, and the different offerings that I have for you. Let me know how they're impacting your life. So I look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks. Bye.